Savannah's heat clung to the air like secrets no one dared say aloud. Leah Monroe stepped out of the bridal boutique into the late afternoon sun, clutching a bag of final alterations. Her wedding was in 9 days. 9 days until she would walk down the aisle again, this time not with blind hope, but with certainty. Grant Walker was everything Daniel Cross hadn't been. Consistent, successful, respected. His family had deep roots in Savannah society, and their engagement had been the talk of River Street ever since it made the Savannah Times Weddings to Watch list. "Mom, are you sure you don't want to wear something more fun?" Maddie asked from the back seat, kicking her pink high-top sneakers against the passenger seat. She was 9 going on 29, with Leah's curls and Daniel's eyes, the kind of detail Leah had stopped letting herself think about years ago. "This dress is fun. It just also happens to be white and extremely expensive," Leah replied, forcing a laugh as she buckled her seatbelt. They drove home in a comfortable silence, passing ivy-covered mansions and rustling oak trees. Leah's phone buzzed. Another text from Elaine Walker. "We need to discuss the guest list. Too many non-family names." Leah rolled her eyes and tossed the phone into her purse. She didn't need this today. Not with Maddie asking harder questions. Not with wedding nerves tightening in her chest. Not with the ghosts creeping closer. By 7 p.m., dinner was done and Maddie was curled up on the couch with her tablet. Leah sipped wine in the kitchen, going over her final client checklist for the week. Being an event planner during her own wedding season had been a feat of mental gymnastics, but she'd pulled it off. She always did. Because failing wasn't an option. Not after how her first wedding ended. A flash of memory surfaced. Lace, veil trembling, guests murmuring, her mother's forced smile melting into horror, and the gaping absence at the altar. No Daniel. Just an empty space and an unanswered question. Then came the knock. 3 sharp raps on the door. Leah froze. No one came by unannounced in her neighborhood, ever. Maddie. "Stay in the living room," she said, her voice instinctively low. She peeked through the peephole, her breath caught. Daniel. Older, rougher, but unmistakably him. His jaw was dusted, with a beard, eyes darker than she remembered. He was holding a box, worn, taped at the edges. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. No. Years. She opened the door halfway, her hand trembling against the frame. "What the hell?" "I just need 5 minutes," Daniel said quickly, his voice raspier than before, but familiar. "Please, Leah. I didn't come to cause trouble." "You are trouble," she snapped. "Do you think you can disappear from my life for 10 years and just show up with a prop and a pity face?" He didn't flinch. "I didn't leave you because I wanted to." I tried to explain. I wrote, "Save it." She started to shut the door. "Maddie deserves to know who I am." The door stopped. "What did you just say?" Daniel looked pained. "I saw her at the bakery on West Gordon. She looks just like you. But those eyes, I know they're mine." Leah's vision tunneled. She hadn't told a soul except Ashley and her mother that Daniel was Maddie's father. She'd lied on the birth certificate. Told the world Maddie's dad had been a college boyfriend who skipped town. It wasn't true, but it had kept questions away. And Daniel, too. "You stay away from her." "You don't get to say her name," Leah said through clenched teeth. "You forfeited that right when you left me at the altar and vanished off the face of the earth." "I didn't vanish," he said, quieter now. "I was forced to disappear, and I can prove it." He held out the box. These were returned to me. Every letter, every email bounced back. Every call blocked. Someone didn't want us to happen. Leah took the box slowly, more out of morbid curiosity than trust. Inside were dozens of yellowed envelopes, some still sealed, some open, folded, tear-stained. postmarks dated all across 2015. Some even from Savannah addresses. "You're lying," she whispered. "I'm not. Ask your mother." Leah slammed the door. From the living room, Maddie called out, "Mom, who was that?" "Just someone lost," Leah said automatically, setting the box on the kitchen table like it was a bomb. She watched Maddie for a moment, curled under a blanket, humming to herself, completely unaware her life might be about to change. Her phone buzzed again, this time not Elaine. It was Ashley. "You're not going to believe who I just saw in town." Leah didn't answer. She stared at the box, heart pounding. Because she had a secret too, and it wasn't just about Maddie. The next morning, Leah Monroe stood over the box Daniel had left on her kitchen table, hands wrapped around her coffee mug like it was the only thing holding her together. Sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting long lines over the pile of unopened letters. She hadn't slept. She hadn't dared open a single one. Because if even half of what Daniel said was true, then the story she'd spent 10 years telling herself, telling everyone, was about to fall apart. "Mom? Who's Daniel?" Leah spun around. Maddie stood in the doorway, in her school uniform, clutching a piece of paper in her hand. Leah's stomach dropped. "Where did you hear that name?" "I found this on the porch." Maddie held up a drawing. One Daniel must have dropped. It was an old sketch of a woman in a wedding dress. Her. Dated 2015. The bottom was signed D.C. Leah Knelt, taking the sketch gently. "That man you saw yesterday. He's someone I used to know. Is he my dad?" The words hit like a slap. Leah forced a smile. "No, sweetie, we've talked about this. Your dad was someone I dated a long time ago. He moved away before you were born." Maddie didn't look convinced. "But he had my eyes." Leah kissed the top of her head. "Eat your cereal. We're gonna be late." By mid-morning, Leah was standing outside her mother's house on Forsyth Street. The same Victorian home where she'd grown up and where her future had once been planned in polite whispers over mint tea and carefully folded napkins. Joanne Monroe opened the door wearing pearls and a robe. "You could have called first." "I didn't come for tea," Leah said, stepping inside. "Daniel Cross showed up at my door last night." Joanne's entire body stiffened. "What?" "He has letters. Dozens. All postmarked from 10 years ago. He says someone made sure they never got to me." Joanne didn't blink. "He's a liar. You told me he left. That he didn't call. That he abandoned me." "He did. He left you standing there like a fool, Leah." "Did you intercept his mail?" Joanne's eyes narrowed. "Of course not. What kind of question is that?" Leah reached into her purse and threw a letter down on the counter. It was addressed to Leah Monroe, C/O, Joanne Monroe, Savannah, Georgia. Returned to sender. Stamped refused in red ink. Joanne's face drained of color. "I trusted you," Leah said quietly. "I let you tell me how to grieve him, and now you're telling me you never saw these?" Joanne crossed her arms. "You don't know what was going on back then? He wasn't right for you. His family was a mess. His father had just been indicted for fraud. There were rumors about stolen money, drug connections. Do you think I was going to let you marry into that?" "You didn't let me do anything," Leah snapped. "You made sure I couldn't. You made sure he couldn't even explain himself." "He would have dragged you down, Leah. That was never love. That was obsession. And I don't regret protecting you from that." Leah's voice broke. "You didn't protect me. You broke me. And you lied." Joanne's expression softened for the first time. "You don't know everything, Leah. There were other things. Things I was trying to keep you from." Leah stared at her. "Like what?" Joanne looked away. "Ask your sister." That evening, Leah found Ashley in the back room of the flower shop she ran downtown. Ashley looked up from a bouquet of white peonies. You saw him. Yeah, and apparently so did you. A while ago. Ashley hesitated, guilt all over her face. He reached out a year after the wedding, she admitted. Tried to find you. He tracked me down at school. Said he'd been blocked by you, your email bounced, calls never went through. And you never told me? Leah's voice cracked. I wanted to, Ashley said, but Mom made me promise. She said he'd ruin your life again. She said if I told you, she'd cut me off. So you picked her over me. I was 19, Leah, Ashley whispered. I was scared. Leah didn't respond. She walked out, barely able to breathe. That night, back home, she opened the first letter. Leah, I don't know where you are, or if you'll ever read this, but if you're wondering why I left, please know I didn't choose to. I was threatened. Your mother came to see me the night before the wedding. Leah stopped reading. Her hands trembled. At that moment, Maddie burst into the kitchen, holding an envelope. Mom, the DNA kit came? It says I'll get my results in a week. Leah froze. What DNA kit? I found it in your drawer last month. I sent it in. I just want to know where I come from. Isn't that okay? Leah's mouth went dry, because if Daniel really was Maddie's father, this test would prove it. And the one lie that had kept everything from falling apart was about to come crashing down. The DNA test sat in the center of the kitchen table like a loaded weapon. Leah stared at the email on her phone, confirmation from the testing company that the results would be ready in 5 to 7 business days. Maddie hummed in the other room, blissfully unaware that her well-meaning curiosity had just lit the match to burn down every lie Leah had carefully constructed over the past 9 years. Leah had hidden the kit for months. She'd bought it impulsively after a late-night spiral, wondering what Maddie might discover one day on her own. But she never planned to use it. Not unless she had no other choice. And now it was out of her hands. She picked up the phone and scrolled through her contacts. Daniel's name stared back at her. Newly added the night before, after she'd finally cracked open a second letter, then a third, then a fourth. He had never stopped trying. He'd written to her from a halfway house. From a motel. From a post office box in Jacksonville. He'd begged her for a single word. Just one chance to explain. And now he was back. And Maddie was asking questions Leah could no longer answer with careful lies. She took a breath and pressed, "Call." Daniel answered on the first ring. "Leah?" "Meet me. Noon. Troop Square." "Silence then. I'll be there." Troop Square was mostly empty by midday, save for an old man walking a schnauzer and 2 tourists studying a map near the fountain. Leah sat on a bench beneath the live oaks, arms crossed over her chest as Daniel approached. He looked tired, rough. But he had showered. Shaved. He wore a clean button-up. The Daniel she once loved, peeked out from under the years. "You got my letters?" he asked, easing onto the bench beside her. "I read them, not all of them, but enough." He watched her carefully. "Do you believe me?" "I believe someone made sure I didn't hear from you. And I believe my mother has a lot to answer for." Daniel exhaled, the weight of a decade in his breath. "She was right about one thing," he said after a moment. "My dad was in trouble, big trouble. He took money from the Walkers. Grant's family." Leah blinked. "What?" Daniel nodded. "That's why I left. Not just because of your mom, but because Elaine Walker showed up at my apartment the night before the wedding. Told me if I didn't disappear quietly, she'd bury your name with mine. Said she'd make sure you lost everything." Leah's blood ran cold. "Elaine? Grant's mother?" "She said if I stayed with you, it would link your brand to a criminal legacy. I thought she was bluffing, until I got jumped outside my place that night. No robbery. Just a warning." Leah's voice cracked. "Why didn't you tell me this sooner?" "I tried. he said gently. You never got the letters. And by the time I found Ashley, she shut me out. Leah swallowed the lump rising in her throat. Then she dropped the bomb. Maddie sent in a DNA test. Results come in next week. Daniel froze. You never told me. I didn't think it mattered. You were gone. I needed to protect her. His voice was thick. Protect her from me? Leah didn't answer. Daniel stood, pacing now. I missed everything. Her first steps, her first words. I never even knew she existed. How is that fair? She had a good life, a stable one, and I didn't want her growing up in a courtroom or in the middle of a scandal. You think I would have dragged her through that? No, Leah said. I thought everyone else would. Later that night, Leah returned home to find Grant in her kitchen. He was holding the box of letters. Where did you get these? He asked, his tone too calm. Leah froze. They're Daniel's. He dropped them off. Grant set the box down carefully. So he's been here? Yes. And you didn't think to tell me? I didn't think I owed you a report, she snapped. We've both got history. Grant's jaw tightened. Mine doesn't show up on our doorstep talking about fathering your child. Silence. I read a few of these, he said, tapping the box. They're passionate. Leah crossed her arms. Is that your concern? That his letters were more poetic than yours? My concern, Grant said slowly, is that Daniel Cross is a convicted felon, whose father tried to bankrupt half this city. And you're letting him near our daughter. She's my daughter, Leah said, cold. And don't pretend this is about her safety. This is about your pride, Grant leaned in. You're right, it is. Because I've worked my entire life to build something with a spotless name. You know how hard Elaine's worked to keep our family out of scandal? Yes, Leah snapped. I know. He looked at her, something different in his eyes now. Calculation, not love. Just make sure you remember whose name you're about to take, he said, turning on his heel and walking out. Leah stood there for a long time after he left, because for the first time, she wasn't just questioning Daniel, she was questioning Grant. And worse? She was starting to remember who she used to be, before everyone told her who she was supposed to become. The morning after Grant's veiled threat, Leah sat at her desk at Monroe & Company. Events, staring blankly at a half-completed seating chart. A bride's mother had just emailed requesting 10 vegan meals and a harpist who played only Taylor Swift. Normally, Leah would have smirked and solved it in minutes. Today, she didn't even have the energy to care. She scrolled through the emails on her screen, then stopped cold. Subject: urgent. Contract change from Elaine Walker to Monroe & Company. Leah clicked. Leah, in light of recent personal developments and your shifting priorities, we are choosing to terminate the arrangement for Caroline's wedding. We'll be handling all planning internally moving forward. Please consider this effective immediately. Regards, Elaine Walker. Leah blinked. Caroline was Elaine's niece, a 6-figure wedding booked 6 months ago. It was gone. Just like that, there was no signature, no pleasantries, just a clean, professional execution. A few seconds later, her assistant Olivia appeared in the doorway. You might want to see this. She handed Leah a glossy envelope marked private. Inside was a printed article from a Savannah Society blog. Rumors are swirling around Monroe & Company after whispers of secret paternity, a reappeared ex-fiancé, and a shaken engagement to real estate heir Grant Walker. Multiple sources say the Walkers are distancing themselves quietly but deliberately. Leah's throat tightened. Elaine had struck the first blow, and she wasn't even being subtle. But the real twist came at the bottom of the article. A source close to the family hints the Walkers were involved in covering up Daniel Cross's mysterious disappearance years ago. If true, this could open old wounds and possible legal exposure. Olivia hesitated. Do you want me to call your lawyer? Leah's voice was calm but firm. No, I want you to call the Savannah Gazette. It's time I told my side. Later that afternoon, Leah drove back to her childhood home. She hadn't spoken to her mother in 2 days, not since confronting her with Daniel's returned letters. But what Joanne had said still echoed in her mind. "Ask your sister." Ashley answered the door, her eyes rimmed with stress. "I need to know what you meant when you said Mom was hiding other things." Ashley hesitated. "Leah, no more dodging. I'm done being protected from the truth." Ashley led her into the kitchen. "Fine, but you're not going to like it." She handed Leah an old binder. "I found this last year when I was helping Mom clean out the attic." Inside were printed emails, receipts, and wire transfers from a decade ago. One caught Leah's eye. From elaine.walker@savannahestates.com to joanne.monroe@southernhost.net. "We agree that separation is necessary for Leah's future. I'll ensure Daniel disappears, but I need your discretion. The Walker name can't afford this scandal right now. You'll be compensated accordingly." Leah's knees went weak. Joanne and Elaine had worked together? "She sold me out?" Leah whispered. "For a country club membership, hush money, and a favor on your dad's old medical bills," Ashley said bitterly. "That's why she stopped talking about him so much. Because she owed Elaine." Leah looked up, heart pounding. "How long have you known?" Ashley's eyes filled. "I didn't want it to be true, but when I saw the emails, I didn't know how to tell you." Leah stood, rage boiling just beneath her skin. "They stole 10 years of my life. Of Daniel's. Of Maddie's." That night, Leah called Daniel and asked him to meet her at Maddie's favorite place, the pier at River Street, just before sunset. When he arrived, she handed him the printed email from Elaine. His face darkened. "She paid your mother?" Leah nodded. "And she's the one who made sure you disappeared, not just with threats. With money, with planning." Daniel stared out at the water. "This is bigger than us." "I know," she said, "which is why I'm going to expose it." Daniel turned to her, confused. "You're going to go public?" "I just lost one of my biggest clients because Elaine is smearing me. I have nothing to lose now." Her eyes narrowed. "But I won't do it alone." Daniel stepped closer. "What are you asking?" Leah pulled a file folder from her purse. Inside were documents. The letter. Photos of Daniel's injuries from the night he vanished. Proof of the payoff. "I want to take them down, but I need someone who's not afraid to get dirty." Daniel gave her a long look. "I was raised in a family of survivors," he said. "Let's make them wish they'd never lied." Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of the Walker estate, Grant sat in his father's study, flipping through a folder Elaine had given him. Inside were photographs. Daniel at Leah's door, Leah crying in her car, Maddie walking with Daniel at the park that morning. Elaine's voice echoed from the hallway. "You let her ruin this family's future, and I will destroy everything you've built." Grant closed the folder. His fiancée was turning into a liability. But he had a solution, one she'd never see coming. Maddie clutched the unopened email on Leah's phone like it was a live grenade. "Mom," she said slowly, eyes wide, "it says the DNA results are ready." Leah froze in the kitchen doorway, her hands still damp from washing dishes. Her heart thundered in her chest. She hadn't even known Maddie had her phone, hadn't realized the test results would arrive today. "You shouldn't be reading my emails," Leah said, gently but firmly. "I just wanted to know the truth," Maddie whispered. "I deserve to know who I am." Leah crossed the room and sat across from her daughter. She saw the fear and hope warring behind those hazel eyes, the exact same shade as Daniel's. There was no need for a test. Leah already knew. But proof changes everything. Leah reached for the phone. "Okay, let's look together." She opened the email. A second later, the screen filled with a simple statement. Paternity result. 99.99%. Probability of relationship alleged father. Daniel Cross child. Madison Monroe. Maddie gasped. "It's true." Leah swallowed. "Yes." Maddie's voice was shaking. "So all those times I asked, and you said you weren't sure." "I was trying to protect you," Leah said, voice cracking. I didn't want you to grow up wondering why he left. Or thinking you weren't wanted. I didn't want you to feel abandoned like I did." "But I'm not the one who was abandoned," Maddie snapped. "You were, and you put that on me." Leah's eyes brimmed. "I'm sorry, baby. I really am." Maddie stood up, tears in her eyes. "I want to meet him. Alone." Leah's stomach clenched. "Just give me a little time to explain things to him." "No," Maddie said. "I've waited my whole life for this. I don't need a chaperone." That night, Leah called Daniel. She didn't even say hello. She knows. There was a long pause. Then, "And?" "She wants to see you. Alone." Another pause. "I'll be wherever she wants. Just tell me when." Leah hesitated. "There's something else. Elaine and my mother worked together to make sure we were destroyed. I found the receipts, the emails, the bribes, everything." Daniel's voice was hard. "Then it's time we go public." Leah nodded slowly. Agreed, but someone else was moving faster. At 7 a.m. the next morning, Leah woke to the sound of her phone exploding with notifications. Her assistant Olivia's voice came in hot over voicemail. "Check the Savannah Sentinel. Front page. Now." Leah bolted upright, heart racing. She opened the news app. Headline: "Wedding planner caught in paternity scandal. Two-timing fiancé with ex-con baby daddy?" The article was filled with photos. Leah hugging Daniel. Maddie walking beside him. Grant looking devastated outside his parents' estate. And worse, screenshots from Daniel's old arrest record. Mugshots. Charges. The article quoted sources close to the Walker family, claiming Leah had lied about Maddie's paternity for leverage, that she'd rekindled a secret romance with Daniel while engaged to Grant. It was humiliating, calculated, personal. Leah's phone buzzed again. This time, it was Grant. She didn't answer. Then a text from him followed. "We could have kept this clean, Leah, but you wanted war." 2 hours later, Maddie met Daniel at a quiet coffee shop on Tybee Island. She looked small in her jean jacket, but determined. Daniel stood the second he saw her. Hi, she said back. He sat slowly, nervous. I don't know what to say. I've waited for this moment for so long, but now I just want to hear from you." Maddie folded her arms. "You hurt my mom. Why should I trust you?" Daniel nodded. "You shouldn't, not yet, but I want to earn it." There was a beat. Then she pulled a folded photo from her jacket. A school picture, 2nd grade. "This is me, in case you ever wondered what you missed." Daniel's hands trembled as he took it. "Thank you." Maddie watched him closely. "What are you going to do now?" "I'm going to be here, for your mom. And for you, however you'll have me." Maddie stood to leave. "We'll see." Meanwhile, at the Monroe house, Leah sat in her mother's living room, binder of evidence in hand. Joanne looked older than Leah remembered. Fragile even. "Why?" Leah demanded. "Why would you help Elaine Walker destroy my life?" Joanne didn't look up. "Because she promised to help your father get into a better facility." "He was getting worse, Leah. We didn't have the money. And you were always so stubborn. I didn't think you'd survive being married to someone like Daniel." Leah's voice broke. "So you let me stand there alone, in a wedding dress, while the whole city watched. I thought you'd thank me one day." "I didn't survive because of you," Leah said, rising to her feet. "I survived in spite of you." She walked out, binder still in hand. That night, Leah sent the entire file to a trusted journalist, along with a statement. The Walkers bought silence. They manipulated family. They buried the truth to protect their image. But they didn't count on a woman who refused to stay broken. The article would run in the Sunday paper. This time, Leah would control the narrative. Grant Walker stood before the antique mirror in his penthouse suite, adjusting his cufflinks with deliberate precision. On the surface, he looked like the grieving fiancé, polished, betrayed, wounded. But underneath the expensive watch and tailored shirt, his mind was already strategizing. He had warned Leah. She didn't listen. Now it was time to show her what silence had cost her. "Sir." His assistant Michael stepped into the room, holding a phone. "Your mother says the article will drop in the Savannah Gazette by Sunday morning. Full character assassination, anonymous sources, drug history, claims of neglect." Grant smiled coldly. "Perfect. Make sure Maddie sees it." Michael hesitated. "And the girl? Should we let her dig around Daniel's record more, or shut that down?" Grant shrugged. "Let her look. A little scandal might make her easier to control later." At home, Leah watched Maddie pace across the living room, her laptop open on the coffee table. "You're sure you want to do this?" Leah asked. "It might be more than you're ready for." "I need to know who he really is," Maddie said. "I saw the mugshots, Mom. I Googled the arrest record. But you said it wasn't what it looked like. So show me." Leah hesitated, then pulled out an old file, one she had hidden for years. Inside were court documents, affidavits, even a hospital report. She handed Maddie the stack. Daniel was arrested for assault, but what the press never printed was that it was your grandfather who got hurt. Drunk. Violent. Daniel tried to pull him off me when he pushed me down the stairs. Maddie's eyes widened. "Grandpa did that?" Leah nodded. "He was a mean drunk. Daniel defended me. But the Walkers spun it to make him look unstable. They needed a clean image for Grant's future, and I was a liability." Maddie looked stunned. "So Grant's family, they knew all of this?" "They orchestrated all of it," Leah said bitterly. "Even got my mom to go along with it." Maddie stared at the floor. "I need air." Leah watched her go with a sinking feeling. Something was about to shift, and not in her favor. Later that evening, Maddie rode her bike across town to the Walker estate. Heart pounding. She wasn't even sure why she came. Maybe to confront Grant. Maybe to find proof. Maybe just to see if the rumors were true. She didn't expect to hear voices as she passed the open garage. "She's just like her mother," Elaine Walker was saying sharply. "Emotional. Reckless. A walking PR disaster. We should have handled her years ago." "We still can," Grant replied coolly. "She's a kid. Kids crack under pressure. One article, one rumor, one little incident, and she's off the table." Maddie's stomach flipped. He was talking about her. "You're playing with fire, Grant," Elaine warned. "If this explodes, we all go down." "Then maybe it's time we make sure Leah and her daughter learn their place," Grant said darkly. "If we can't control them, we'll ruin them." Maddie stumbled backward, barely holding in a gasp. She jumped on her bike and pedaled away, heart slamming against her ribs. Leah was already pacing when Maddie burst through the front door. "Where were you?" she cried. "You didn't answer your phone." "I went to the Walker house," Maddie blurted out. I heard them talking. Grant and Elaine. They're planning to ruin us, like deliberately ruin us. They called me a PR liability." Leah's face went pale. "And worse," Maddie continued, breathless. "Grant said he'd make something happen, something that would put me off the table." "What does that even mean?" "It means," Leah said, eyes narrowing, "he's more dangerous than I thought." She grabbed her phone. "We're done playing defense. I'm calling the journalist. They get everything." Today. The next morning, the Savannah Post dropped a front-page exposé, "The Price of Reputation, Inside the Walker Family's Decade of Cover-Ups, Payouts, and Lies." The article was explosive. Photos, financial records, transcripts, timelines. Daniel's story, Leah's betrayal, the hush money, even Ashley's testimony. Leah's name trended nationally for the first time, not as the jilted bride, but as the woman who dared to fight back. But just as she was about to breathe, Olivia rushed into the office, pale as a ghost. "You need to see this," she said. She held up a phone. A new video was going viral, posted anonymously. Grainy, zoomed-in footage of Maddie arguing with someone. Daniel. Maddie was crying. He looked angry. The clip cut off right as he reached for her arm. The caption read, "Is this the man Leah Monroe says is safe to be around her daughter?" Leah's blood ran cold. "This wasn't even last night," she whispered. "This was months ago. They've been following us." Daniel texted seconds later. "They're trying to frame me, Leah. I swear I didn't touch her. I'll prove it." But it didn't matter. Because by sundown, Grant had filed for emergency custody of Maddie, claiming Leah's parenting was unstable and dangerous, and this time, the court might just believe him. Leah stood outside the Chatham County Courthouse, clutching the stack of documents her attorney had just handed her. Inside was Grant's official emergency custody petition. Accusations of emotional instability, exposure to a known felon, and willful endangerment of a minor. All lies, all calculated. Her hands shook. Maddie was her daughter. Daniel's daughter, not Grant's pawn, but the Walkers were pulling every string they had, and she could feel the walls closing in. "I'm going to fix this," Daniel said, stepping beside her. Leah barely glanced at him. "They're coming after our child. What do you plan to do? Write another letter?" Daniel flinched but held her gaze. "No, I'm going to tell you what I should have told you 10 years ago. The real reason I never showed up that day." Leah froze. "You said Elaine intercepted the letters. You said they threatened you." "They did," Daniel said, "but there's more. A hell of a lot more." He reached into his coat pocket and handed her a USB drive. "This is from a security camera feed in the Walker estate. It's old, hidden in their wine cellar. A friend of mine got it from a retired private investigator." Leah stared at it. "What's on it?" Daniel's voice dropped. "Proof that I did come to the church 10 years ago. I was on my way, tux on, ring in hand. But I stopped at the Walker estate first to pick up a gift Elaine claimed you left behind." He swallowed hard. "Instead, I walked in on a conversation. Grant and Elaine. They were laughing. About me. About how they'd set everything up." Leah's face drained of color. "Set what up?" "They made it look like I was spiraling. They hired a fake therapist who declared me a narcissistic flight risk. Elaine even paid someone to pose as my former parole officer." He paused. "Then Grant said it didn't matter anymore because you weren't supposed to end up with me. You were just a placeholder." Until he was ready. Leah staggered back a step, stunned. "You're lying," she whispered. Daniel opened his phone and pulled up the video. On screen, a younger Grant leaned against a marble counter, sipping wine. "I told you," Grant chuckled. "She'll think he ditched her. She'll be too humiliated to question it. And once she's broken enough, she'll be easy to mold." Elaine's voice followed, cool and precise. "Just give her 6 months. Then you step in like the White Knight. She'll never know." Leah stared at the screen, breathless. Her entire relationship with Grant had been engineered. That night, Leah sat on Maddie's bed, gently brushing hair from her daughter's face. "I want to tell you something," she said softly, "about your father, about why he left." Maddie rolled over. "Mom, if this is about the court stuff, it's about the truth." Leah reached for her laptop and played the video. Maddie's face twisted in horror as she watched Grant and Elaine conspiring. "They did that to you?" she whispered. "To us?" Leah nodded. "Grant manipulated everything. The story you grew up believing was planted." Maddie's eyes filled. "I hated Dad for so long, and now I don't know who to hate more." Leah pulled her into a hug. "You don't have to hate anyone. You just have to know the truth and decide what you want to do with it." The next day, Leah and Daniel arrived at court early, USB in hand. Their lawyer, Naomi, had already filed a motion to include the footage as evidence. As they entered the courtroom, Elaine shot them a venomous glance. Grant, ever the image of calm, gave a tight smile, as if he still held the upper hand. But today, the tide was turning. When the judge saw the video, his expression shifted. "Mr. Walker, would you like to explain this footage, captured in your home, in your voice, conspiring to emotionally manipulate the plaintiff?" Grant's attorney fumbled. "Your Honor, we question the authenticity." "It has metadata," Naomi cut in crisply, "time-stamped, verified, and there's more." She slid another document forward. Here's a notarized statement from the original PI who installed the hidden camera, hired by one of Elaine's former house staff. The footage is real. The courtroom fell silent. Elaine stiffened. Grant's face darkened. The judge looked over his glasses. I see no grounds for this emergency custody claim. In fact, I see grounds for something else entirely. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. But Leah held Maddie's hand tight as they walked to the car, Daniel just behind them. You okay? Leah asked quietly. I will be, Maddie said. But I want to say something. Publicly, my voice matters too. Leah glanced at her daughter and saw herself at 17. Brave, determined, hurt, but not broken. Then let's do it your way. That night, Maddie posted a video to social media. This is for everyone who's ever been told they don't deserve the truth, she began. My name is Madison Monroe. I'm 17. My mom was left at the altar. My dad disappeared. And my mom's ex-fiancé, he tried to make sure I never knew the truth. The video went viral. Within hours, the Walker's statement of denial was buried under public outrage. But just when Leah thought the storm had passed, her phone buzzed. A private number. She answered. A low voice on the line said, You think it's over, but it's not. Check your inbox. I'm not the only one Grant paid to lie. The call ended. Leah opened the email. There it was, a photo, blurry, a man, a woman, at a diner. The woman was Leah. The timestamp? 3 months after Daniel disappeared. The sender's message? You lied too, Leah. You weren't alone that night. Leah stood in the bridal suite, dressed in white again, same fabric, same lace, different heart. She stared at her reflection, remembering the girl she used to be, trembling with hope, betrayed by silence. Today, she wasn't that girl, but she wasn't entirely free either, because the photo in her inbox still haunted her, a grainy image of her laughing with a man 3 months after Daniel vanished. A man she barely remembered. A fling. A moment of weakness, maybe rebellion. The message had been cruelly simple. You lied too, Leah. And worse? The man's face was finally identified by Maddie's curiosity-driven search. He wasn't a stranger. He was an investigator. One hired by the Walkers. Meaning even that moment, her escape from Heartbreak had been manipulated. Daniel still didn't know. A knock came at the door. It was Olivia. Are you ready? She asked gently. Leah took one last look in the mirror. No, she said, but I'm done hiding. Outside, the ceremony was packed. Not with wedding guests, but with reporters, family members, and a handful of stunned onlookers. Because Leah hadn't planned a wedding. She had planned a reckoning. In the front row sat Elaine Walker, stiff and seething. Grant, beside her, whispered frantically into his phone, unaware that the mic beneath Leah's bouquet was hot and live-streaming every word. Maddie had slipped it there herself. Daniel stood in the wings, not in a tux, but in dark jeans and a dress shirt, watching, waiting. The moment Leah stepped into view, the room fell silent. She didn't walk toward an altar. She walked to a podium. I know most of you came here expecting a wedding, she began. And 10 years ago, I was the girl who would have given anything for a perfect one. A murmur rippled through the crowd. But that's not who I am anymore. She turned slightly, gaze settling on Grant. I almost married a man who once said he waited for me to break enough to shape into what he needed. A man who tried to take my daughter. Who painted my past in lies to protect his future. Gasps. Elaine stood abruptly. That's slander. No, Leah said. That's truth. And it's been recorded. On cue, Maddie held up her phone, streaming live to thousands watching on social media. And before you spin another story, let me clear something up. Leah continued, now facing Daniel. You left me 10 years ago. You didn't explain. You hurt me. Daniel's eyes filled, but he said nothing. But I didn't tell you everything either. She took a shaky breath. After you vanished, I broke, and one night, I met someone. I thought it was random, but he was planted, hired, and I fell for it. I let myself believe I was healing, when I was really being studied. Daniel's jaw tensed. I'm telling you this now, because if we're going to be anything, even just Maddie's parents, there can't be any more secrets. Daniel slowly nodded. I can handle the truth. But I couldn't survive another lie. Leah exhaled. Then let's end the lies. For good. Grant stood. Enough of this theater. No judge will believe. Actually, a voice called out, we already did. A new figure entered, the actual judge overseeing the custody hearing. Flanked by court officers. Grant paled. I received a private tip, the judge said, that further manipulation of evidence was underway, including attempts to buy out a court-appointed child psychologist. We verified those claims this morning, he turned to the officers. Mr. Walker, you're under investigation. You'll need to come with us. As they cuffed him, Elaine rose, face white with fury. You'll regret this, Leah, she hissed. You think this is a victory? Leah smiled faintly. No, just closure. That evening, after the chaos cleared, Leah and Daniel sat on a bench outside the empty venue, Maddie sipping a milkshake nearby. You know, Leah said, pulling off her heels, technically I've now worn a wedding dress twice and never actually gotten married. Daniel chuckled. Maybe third time's the charm? She glanced at him. Are you asking? He shrugged. Not today, but maybe someday. If you ever want a quiet courthouse ceremony with a guy who brings his own pen to sign the license. She laughed. After everything, I'm not sure I believe in the perfect love story anymore. Me neither, he said, but I believe in second chances, even if they're messy. Leah looked at Maddie, who smiled and gave them a thumbs up without looking up from her phone. Maybe that's the real love story, she said softly, the one you fight for, the one that survives the lies. He reached for her hand. And this time Leah didn't pull away. Epilogue. 6 months later, the Monroe and Company event hall was booked solid. Leah's business had tripled since the scandal broke, not just from curious clients, but from women who saw her as a survivor. A fighter, someone who rebuilt, not just once, but again and again. Maddie had started college early, majoring in digital media, and was launching a podcast on generational secrets and truth-telling. Daniel had bought a small house across town, but he came by often, for dinner, to help with projects, to sit on the porch swing and talk until the stars came out. As for Leah, she still had the gown, the ring, the altar, tucked away in boxes, but now she also had peace, and for the first time, she didn't need a wedding to prove her worth. Because the life she had, she built it herself, and no one could take that away.